Oh my goodness. Look at you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the administration, faculty, staff, and members of the 144th Corps of Cadets at Georgia Military College, I would like to welcome you to today's Servant Leader Parade. I am Cadet Jared Smith.
And I'm Cadet Giselle Bakey, and we will be your narrators for this afternoon's parade.
Today's parade is dedicated to the ideals of servant leadership. The mission of GMC is to produce educated citizens and contributing members of society in an environment conducive to the development of the intellect and character of its students.
Servant leaders put the needs of others first and help people in communities perform at their optimum potential. Instead of people working to serve the leader exists to serve the people. When leaders serve others, they unlock purpose and ingenuity in those around them, resulting in higher performance and engaged citizens.
Servant leaders are those individuals who collaborate, mentor, dedicate personal time, and give of themselves for the pure and unselfish betterment of others. They are regarded as selfless, humble, and generous.
GMC has recognized over 850 students, faculty, and staff for their desire to serve others, and we will always remain steadfast to the ideals of servant leadership.
To join us in this celebration, Georgia Military College extends a special welcome to the guests and dignitaries who have joined Lieutenant General and Mrs. Caldwell on the reviewing stand. I would like to recognize a few distinguished members.
David Luke, Junior College Corps Cadets Chaplain.
Henry Craig, Chairman, Baldwin County Board of Commissioners, and the other commissioners in attendance today.
Already formed on Grand Parade are members of the Georgia Military College Band. The band commander is Cadet Captain Tucker Ivy. The company First Sergeant is Cadet First Sergeant Caden Baker.
Our nation's colors and the 144th Corps of Cadets are now marching on to Grand Parade. The regiment, comprised of 4 battalions, will form on the field to begin this afternoon's ceremony.
The Cadet Regimental Adjutant, Cadet Major Brees Fargo, directed the band to sound adjutant's call and is conducting the adjutant's march to center herself on the regiment to begin today's ceremony.
The commander of troops is now moving to the front of the field with her staff to receive the formation from the adjutant. The commander of troops for today's ceremony is Cadet Colonel Grace Gooden.
Sound Off is a ceremonial tradition that dates back to the Crusades when military bands marched and countermarched before units designated to take part in the upcoming battle.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as the Georgia Military College Band plays Ruffles and Flourishes. Traditionally, Ruffles and Flourishes is played for civilian dignitaries and general officers. This afternoon, Lieutenant General Caldwell defers honors to our special guest, Chaplain David Luke.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Again, welcome to the Georgia Military College and our parade celebrating commitment to develop servant leaders. Your host for today's ceremony is the 21st President of Georgia Military College, Lieutenant General William B. Caldwell IV.
The commander of troops has ordered the colors to come forward for presentation. The term colors originated around the 17th century in the days when armies first adopted the regimental system. It was then decided that each regiment should be assigned a color. These colors not only made each regiment easy to identify, but also served as a rallying point on the battlefield. Today we refer to our nation's flag, the state flag, and the command flag as colors.
present the command.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the national anthem. For our guests in uniform and our veterans as desired, please render the hand salute. For our guests in civilian clothes, please place your right hand over your heart.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of Georgia Military College, Lieutenant General William B. Caldwell IV.
Well, first of all, let me just welcome everybody here. It's a really warm day today. I think much more than anybody anticipated, but we're thrilled that all the families that took the time to be here to join us for this very special parade. As you all know, we at Georgia Military College believe in duty, honor, and country. And part of that is our ideal of servant leadership. Servant leaders are those that we all know who serve others. And it's something we continually stress and work for very much here at Georgia Military College. So today, when we put our heads together, we're trying to think, who could we ask to make some remarks that most epitomizes what it means to be in service to others? We didn't have to look any further than our own chaplain here at Georgia Military College, the Reverend David Luke. For those that know Reverend Luke, you know that you'll find him here at 5 o'clock in the morning. You'll see him here at 8 o'clock in the evening. He'll be here on the weekends, all at the same time, shepherding the church, working in his community, and serving everybody throughout this entire county of ours. He's a wonderful man, a great father, a loving husband, and most importantly for us today, he is the epitome of what each of us strive to be, and that is in service to others and in service to our community. If you would, please join me in giving Reverend David Luke a warm welcome.
Good afternoon. What a wonderful day. I want to thank God, first of all, for this beautiful weather. Didn't know what I was going to do if the wind was blowing because I don't do well with bad hair days. Well, I think, above all, I think we have a great leader in our general who's exemplified what it means to work hard and to build people. It was easy to accept this engagement, but I have to tell you, it unnerved me on the other night when he called. I blame everybody for that phone call. If you haven't had a call from your president at 7 o'clock at night, it's the best diuretic you can ever have. Listen, I won't take long, but I would like to say thank you for this honor, sir. Beloved, I grew up in a small town in Alabama, greatest state in America. I became infatuated with tall buildings because we didn't have a whole lot of tall buildings where I came from. My daddy was a builder, so I got a chance to see building sites in the infancy. and all the dirt and the debris was lying around. Had a chance in later life to go to New York City and start to study on those buildings. Do you realize that the Twin Towers were at one time the tallest buildings in the world? 1966, they started this project, which was a mass overtaking in the 1970s. $400 million at the time, an equivalent value of over $4 billion. Imagine that. Imagine these buildings becoming the picture of what America should stand for. Beloved, if we're going to do anything right, we must learn to build. Today, my comments will be surrounding these statements. I want to talk about servant leadership from the standpoint of the blueprint for servant leadership. The buildings that I first described, not only were they the picture of what we stood for in America, not only for the present, but for our future. This was 1966. More material was delivered to that site than anywhere else on American soil. Beloved, nothing was gone, not a stone was left unturned. The planning went years into the making. It took 14 years to build the trade towers, and only 8 minutes to bring them to rubbish. I want to ask you today, if you're doing anything right, you ought to be building the people around you to be stronger. I want to give you some startling statistics that might unnerve some of our college students. This is what I'm armed with each and every day we meet. The majority of people decide they are attracted to someone within the first 3 seconds that they see them. There's 60% chance that your long-distance relationship will succeed, leaving a 40% chance of it failing. Around 71% of people believe in love in first sight. 48% of men fall in love, probably while they're sleeping. According to the relationship abuse statistics, close to 1.5 million high school students in the United States fall victim to this statistic. About 33% of people who date online will end up in a relationship. I repeat, they will end up in a relationship. Didn't believe it before, but it's right there in the paper. Relationship statistics on breakups show that 70% of unmarried straight couples break up after only 1 year. Dating someone for more than 3 months will most likely turn into a serious relationship. I gave you those statistics only to share with you that the human document is what we work with as servant leaders. We work with those people that are in between hope and hopelessness. We work with those people that have the skill set to build great buildings, but can't keep their family together. If we're going to get anything right as an institution, as in those that grow businesses, we must learn to deal with our differences. We must learn that the blueprint for servant leadership means that I'm going to get in the game. I'm not going to be a Monday morning quarterback. The blueprint of servant leadership says, why would a person get involved? As servant leaders, we don't stand by idly. We get involved. We have a servant leader right here in our General Caldwell, who even though the pandemic came and put the world on halt, we kept on building. Even while the rest of the world were wondering how they were going to do it. The General did it. Our schools remain open. Can we give him a hand clap of praise? Why do we do it? Why do servant leaders go out of their way to make sure that the human document is growing and glowing? while we place our hands in the back of those that want to quit, in which the word quitting is not an option. Why? Because we believe that the value that we instill in you, that you one day will instill in someone else. Why do we believe that the blueprint for servant leadership is the mastery of all that happens? It's because we believe that the founding fathers would have said these words: if we're going to make a difference, the difference must start with me. I believe that if we're going to show young leaders, our young military, men and women, those that are civic leaders, those that have declared that I'll start here, but I'll go anywhere, those that have said to their mothers and fathers, I will toil and I will burn the midnight oil, and one day we'll walk into a corporate boardroom and remind yourself that I was served by someone who understood my value. The blueprint that servant leadership must be armed with is not the details of how the square footage of a room or how much steel is used in a building, but how much tenacity does it take to get up after we fall? Now, how much does it take after your hometown has been pleaded year after year with storms? What does it mean to study while you know your parents are bunkered down waiting on the storm? I believe that those of us that believe in the blueprint understand that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. The wheel started at the beginning of humanity. I believe that when we step back and look at life through the lenses of those that develop people, those that believe that your differences can make us stronger. Servant leaders understand that we don't have to be the same denomination. We don't have to be the same race. We don't even have to like the same football team, Mark Strong. We can serve together and make stronger leaders. Servant leaders understand that if you're going to do anything right, you must start with a good plan. That's the why. How do servant leaders use the blueprint? We believe that if we use the properties of counting up the cost, of evaluating the profits, of what it means to deal with different elevations, to deal with terrains that might offer us obstacles that we must get around. Have you noticed something? At Georgia Military College, we just keep on building. I know the engineering department has sleepless nights. But I want to tell you something. What that tells me, if we're going to build buildings, then we must be building people. We must be doing something right to throw out a plan that would include what it means to count up the cost, to determine timelines, to determine a level of productivity. In the midst of it all, I ask yourself a question today. If you're desiring to be a servant leader, if you're desiring to make a difference, what is your plan? The blueprint says you must start with the end in mind. Building my first house, I was bewildered to know that I was spending all this money on things I couldn't see. I spent time digging and excavating in order to pour a foundation. But what I did not know, that was the place that would cause the home to be stabilized. Servant leaders understand that if we're going to get it right, we must build a foundation. We must understand that the human document is delicate. We are dealing with young people that are celebrating not only have they lived with wars most of their lives, but they now is the first generation that have dealt with the post-pandemic education. How do you lead someone that is constant in distress? You go with the plan that says that I know what's inside of you. You go with the plan that reminds them that greater is he that's inside of you than he that's in the world. When do you start the plan? In the beginning. Start with the end in mind. Might I infuse this in my statements today? That you might not know it now, but the person standing next to you could very well be making decisions in Congress 5, 10, 20 years from now. What have you done as a leader to pour into that person? What have you done to build them up instead of tearing them down? Remember my statements earlier? 14 years to build the tower, and only 8 minutes when it comes to rubbish. Could we be those leaders that pour into the constituency that follow us? I want to give you 3 tenets, and I'm out of your way, because I'm sure somebody's keeping time. 3 very important things, and I'll add one. Servant leaders must be informed. They must be informed and armed, and know that if you're going to make a difference, you not only are serving those that are in your immediate sphere, you're serving the things that they cannot articulate, the fears, those things that they cannot see. Servant leaders must be the informed vessel on the team, the one that get up early and stay up late, the one that read the weather to make sure that we perform and implement the duty that we've been given. Not only should we be informed, but we should also be involved. We cannot be Monday morning quarterbacks. We can no longer be the ones that pour into people as if they're simply numbers. The days of just having a job is gone. We are serving a generation that don't want to go watch. They don't want to retire. In fact, they don't know what they want at times, but that's another story. I think that we have to give them the plan by being the example of what they should aspire to be. Lastly, we are involved in the most divisive times of our country. Servant leaders must look through the lenses of Jesus Christ. We must be inclusive of all races, inclusive of all creeds. We must draw the dividing line and cause those that understand and know that we must be the one to help break the glass ceiling. And lastly, if you're going to be a servant leader, that understand and know that you're going to use the blueprint of life, you must be inspiring. No one wants to follow the dull ways of vanilla. No one wants to follow the dull ways of not understanding which way to turn. We are not a beige or vanilla generation. We understand the complexity of those we serve, and we plan to inspire. These are my statements, and I approve them. Thank you.
In recognition of his servant leadership and strong support to Georgia Military College, his unwavering love and support to the Corps of Cadets, and appreciation for his visit here today, Chaplain David Luke is being presented with the GMC colors by the Regimental Commander, Cadet Colonel Gooden, and President Caldwell. On behalf of the Corps of Cadets, Chaplain Luke epitomizes the concept of servant leadership and character that we want our students to emulate.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as Cadet Barrett Dunn recites the cadet prayer.
Please bow your heads. Almighty God, General of all life's forces, Commander of nature, we praise thy holy name. Visit thy presence upon us and all former GMC cadets. Reinforce us in our quest for knowledge, integrity, and leadership. Instill in us humanitarianism and bless our enemy, whoever he might be. Extinguish from our daily lives greed and envy, and make us champions of right and ladies and gentlemen of honor. May we glorify thy name in victory and be courageous in defeat. Help us ever to think first of our comrades, secondly of ourselves, and always of thee. Guide our footsteps and cleanse our minds. May we be first in the service of our country and first in thy service. Lead us, O Lord, that we might lead. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Pass and review.
The regimental commander of the 144th Corps of Cadets and commander of troops for today's parade is Cadet Colonel Grace Gooden.
Members of the regimental staff are Cadet Major Brees Vargo, Regimental S1 and Adjutant, Cadet Major Nyasia Ray, Regimental S2, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Edward Wilson, Regimental S3, Cadet Major Camber Edwards, Regimental S4, Cadet Command Sergeant Major Rajan Rose, Regimental Command Sergeant Major.
The Gmc Preparatory Band is commanded by Cadet Captain Tucker Ivy. The company first sergeant is Cadet First Sergeant Caden Baker. The 2nd Battalion is commanded by Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Ronnie Patel. The battalion Command Sergeant Major is Cadet Command Sergeant Major Wyatt Hall. Headquarters Company is commanded by Cadet Captain Jordan Overman. Company First Sergeant is Cadet First Sergeant Emma Evans. Charlie Company is commanded by Cadet Captain Kenyon Shai. Company First Sergeant is Cadet First Sergeant Jimmy Dugan. Delta Company is commanded by Cadet Captain Leah Janikos. Company First Sergeant is Cadet First Sergeant Dalton Paddock.
The 1st Battalion is commanded by Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Kayla Johnson. The Battalion Command Sergeant Major is Cadet Command Sergeant Major Nikese Norman. Alpha Company is commanded by Cadet Captain Julian Lindsay. Company First Sergeant is Cadet First Sergeant Thomas Truss. Bravo Company is commanded by Cadet Captain Julian Ferreira. Company First Sergeant is Cadet First Sergeant Nathaniel Kulo.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and render appropriate honors as the national colors pass in front of your seating area. For our guests in uniform and our veterans as desired, please render the hand salute. For our guests in civilian clothes, please place your right hand over your heart. Members of the GMC Color Guard are Cadet Joshua Yu, Cadet Jack Halstead, Cadet Alyssa Howery, Cadet Corell Person, and Cadet Justin Lunny.
The 4th Battalion is commanded by Cadet Lieutenant Colonel William Pettit. The Battalion Command Sergeant Major is Cadet Command Sergeant Major Eddie Wilson. Alpha Company is commanded by Cadet Captain Duffy Sullivan. Company First Sergeant is Cadet First Sergeant Charles Duru. Bravo Company is commanded by Cadet Captain Caitlin Wilson. Company First Sergeant is Cadet First Sergeant Zachary Humphrey.
The 3rd Battalion is commanded by Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Lydia Brown. The Battalion Command Sergeant Major is Cadet Command Sergeant Major Kathleen Augustine. Echo Company is commanded by Cadet Captain Madison Mullis. Company First Sergeant is Cadet First Sergeant Allie Deason. Foxtrot Company is commanded by Cadet Captain Isabel Dixon. Company First Sergeant is Cadet First Sergeant Trent Channel. Headquarters and Headquarters Detachment is commanded by Cadet Captain Hank Eilers. Company First Sergeant is Cadet First Sergeant Valerie Simmons.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Army song.
above all.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the Georgia Military